at a bubble as something that can be explained, but is about to pop.
But this one, the idea of portable mortgages is the game changer for the housing market. And let me explain.
I just logged in to our health insurance provider and I can't even... In July of 2025, our health insurance premium went from $59 a month to $798 a month.
I never wanted to come on here and complain about money because it's embarrassing for me to do so because I have a lot of friends and family that follow me on this account. But I guess that's what I'm going to do today.
Every single city in the world right now, it seems, is going through a housing crisis.
Isn't it insane that wanting a normal life now is considered a luxury?
Got so much to talk about in this video. There is the idea of the 50-year mortgage. We've got the idea that you can now tag along your mortgage to the next property. And then they're trying to get rid of the minimum credit score when buying a house. We got to talk about the real issue with this. And it's all about getting rid of the middle class. After this, the poverty gap is going to be so big, the wealth gap is going to be so big, and we got to talk about why. They're trying to prop up the housing market. They're trying to prop up a lot of things. So let's get down to it and let's watch these videos. And yes, I have a spectator right here. He's hanging out with me today.
People now argue that we're in a housing bubble.
Really?
That housing is very unaffordable for a lot of people, especially New York City of all places.
Correct.
What do you have to say about that?
I look at a bubble as something that can be explained, but is about to pop. I don't think what we're in is about to pop. I think it can easily be explained. I think we have an unaffordability crisis. I think there's an income gap, obviously, but I think rates are incredibly high. I think there's very, very, very little inventory. We're on year 3 of 3-decade lows in terms of housing transactions throughout the United States. And that's worldwide, but just so we can focus the conversation here. That doesn't feel like a bubble to me. What it feels like is an unaffordability crisis more than anything. And it's pushing people into rents, but rents are also incredibly, incredibly high. And so something has to give. And so what will probably happen is you'll have an American debt crisis with all of the debt that people have racked up, from buy now, pay later tacos, to student debt, to auto loan debt, to just general credit card debt. I feel like there's a new credit card that gets invented every other day that sells you a bag of rewards, but actually is preying on people's lack of income to be able to afford what it means to actually live in the United States these days. That seems like a bubble to me versus housing.
You know why it's not a bubble? Because they just came out with a 50-year mortgage. They just came out with the idea of tagging along a lower interest rate mortgage to the next property to get people to move properties. They're doing everything in their power to prop up the real estate market. That's why he's calling it not a bubble. He knows, love him, but he knows that they will do everything in their power to change the way in which real estate is paid for by changing the payment process, by stretching out the payment over a longer period of time, because people buy real estate on the payment. They buy the car on the payment. How much can I afford a month? And that's what lenders approve you on. How much can you afford a month? Debt to income. They know this is coming. And as a real estate agent, and I'm a real estate agent, I don't fault him for this. He's just looking at the statement of facts that he sees right in front of him, and he's making a judgment. And he knows that that's what these things are about. The United States economy cannot have a housing implosion. It is the backbone of America. And they will do everything in their power to prop it up. And what that does to you, if you're in the bottom half, is it will cause real estate to keep going up. Remember, the average homeowner now is 40 years old before they buy their first house. With a 50-year mortgage, that's going to push it out. You'll be 45, 50 years old buying your first house at a 50-year mortgage. Your grandkids might pay it off. They're going to make things get more expensive. What the rich people are going to do is get a 50-year mortgage. They're going to wait until interest rates get to 3-4%. They're going to take that money and throw it in the stock market. The stock market's going to go up. Real estate's going to go up. And if you don't own assets, you're going to get left behind. The wealth gap will get even bigger. That's what they're doing to everybody right now. The pot kept getting hotter as they turned up the temperature slowly. and most people didn't realize it. The rich knew what was coming when they saw those low interest rates years ago, and they bought every asset they possibly could, and they got even more wealthy. America has to figure out, and they have to pay attention to what politicians are doing. You know, we just want the crumbs, but we see them making the cookie and eating the cookie. And they do it to us every time.
Anyone who's bought a home since 2008 or 2009, let's say after Dodd-Frank, right? You've either paid in cash or you financed. If you finance, you have a 30-year fix or a 15-year fix, and that's a hefty monthly payment, or you've got an ARM, a 5-1, a 7-1, or a 10-1 ARM. And in order to get an adjustable rate mortgage, you have to be approved at the 30-year fixed monthly. So maybe you've lost your job, et cetera, that'll always happen. But I think the rate of delinquencies is not nearly where it would need to be to cause, quote unquote, a bubble.
A lot of the
factor in taxes have gone up, insurance has gone up, especially if you're on the Gulf Coast. Those are the things right now politicians are panicking over. That's why they're trying to make these like tax-free, you know, if you own your homestead, it's the property taxes are going away. They see this stuff coming, and that's the one thing that would buckle this type of a market. He's right. Student loans, credit card debt are going to be the death knell of our economy. There's way too much of it. Trillions of dollars of outstanding consumer loan or consumer credit card debt and student loan debt. I don't know what we're going to do with it. And he's right. It'll be the one thing to affect us. But they will keep propping up this market with the amortization schedule on these loans. And I don't know what the future is going to be other than higher priced houses. That's how we got this far. It was 15 years, then it was 30 years. Now it's going to be 50. Next it'll be 75. I didn't think they'd go to 50. I thought they'd go to 40, but they went 50.
So I was just out on a walk right now, and check out these homes next to this path that I'm on. I was looking these homes up on Zillow, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $615, $625, $650 in some cases for these really tiny houses. I mean, they're not very big. You can see the properties they're sitting on are tiny, and yet people want $650,000 for these homes at what, 6.25% interest rates? Like, no wonder nobody can.
That's because notes are built for the bank. They don't build houses at a certain price point because it's one for the builders to make money and for the bankers to make money. If you have a low note, you're not going to make any money. You want a note to be big enough that you get a return on the money you're lending out over the course of 50 years. The banker's going to wind up coming out ahead on this.
Every single city in the world right now, it seems, is going through a housing crisis. You hear the same stories all the time. There's not enough jobs. The jobs that do exist don't pay enough, and nobody can afford rent. And it seems like this is a global issue, not just here in the States. And I'm wondering, how can this continue? I mean, is it going to be the same 5 years from now? It just seems like we are on this trend, like we're going off the cliff of affordability and nobody can make it work. And if every city becomes unaffordable and everybody's leaving the cities, what's going to happen to the cities? Are they just going to be ghost towns? Is everyone going to move out to the country? It's really fascinating to think about. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we go from here. You know, I say a lot, it feels like we're in the end game of capitalism. Of course, right as we're all, getting out of college and getting out into the world is when everything becomes unaffordable. It's like we're in an everything bubble. It feels like we're right around the corner of something happening and nobody quite knows what. And it's kind of scary. But it's also kind of like we're all in this together. You know what I mean? We're all in this boat of nobody can afford anything.
It is an everything bubble. The bankers, the Fed, the international Feds, the world banks, they had to prop up this entire deal when they decided to shut down the economy for the 19. And they did it by printing money. And some economies printed more money than others. And some didn't have the economic, internal fortitude to hold it all together. So everything went up. Housing, they created the money by low interest rates, and then all the houses got bought up. If you wanted to make housing more affordable, truly, when 20% of most the houses in the United States are owned by a corporation, you would up the taxes on all those corporations holding all those houses, and you'd make the cash flow so hard for them that they would let those properties go. They would start putting properties back on the market. I mean, like in our town, most of the west side of Pensacola is owned by old men and LLCs and corporations. Nobody wants to talk about that. But all those houses would come up for sale if they couldn't cash flow them anymore. Wouldn't be worth owning them.
Finally, we may have a solution for the housing crisis that America has been in for at least 4 years, and it's all because of this guy. And no, I'm not talking about his plan for a 50-year mortgage. That's actually one of the worst possible solutions. But this one, the idea of portable mortgages, is the game changer for the housing market. And let me explain. Now, first, here's what a portable mortgage is. It allows a homeowner to transfer their existing mortgage, including the remaining interest rate and terms from their current home, to a new property when they move. This feature is most commonly used in countries like Canada and the UK, but is rare and generally unavailable for most conventional loans in the United States. So one of the problems that we face with the housing crisis right now is that the vast majority of homeowners that have mortgages have interest rates that are below 5%. And we know that interest rates across the board have been elevated since inflation's been going on. So anybody that has an interest rate that's lower than 5% is not in a hurry to jump to a new mortgage because they know that they'll be getting rid of their old existing interest rate and jumping into a higher, more expensive interest rate.
That's true. Most of the people I talk to as a real estate agent, they don't want to lose their old interest rate. Now, there's a couple things you could do. You could change the way you're taxed on, when you sell real estate and you take that capital gain. 2 out of the last 5, if you've lived there and it was your place of living for the last 5 years, usually you don't have to pay taxes on that first 250, 500,000 married. But if you change that to $1 million, since everything's appreciated so much, people might look at it and be like, you know what, I might make that change. Because you got to think, you got closing costs, you got doc stamps, you got everything involved in selling your house. And after they go through all that, they're like, what's the point? And then you got to go buy the next house and you got to do it all over again. Politicians have to make it feasible for people to want to get out of these properties. Now, making it portable doesn't help affordability, okay? It doesn't help the idea for the young person to get into a house before 40. It just helps the people that have already bought tag along their mortgage. I don't even know if it's legal. If you're a banker, comment down below. Because when you buy a house and you get the mortgage, the bank sells your mortgage, okay? And then they sell it again and again and again and again and again. And the idea of that third, fourth tier person wanting you to take that mortgage and put it on another property, I don't know if they're going to want to do that. I think they might lose money on their balance sheets holding all these mortgages because at some point, if the interest rate is low enough, they're going to start losing money on those notes. Just my opinion. Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your discourse. Good, bad, ugly, right, wrong. Let's go.
And so people choose to stay in their home and wait for the interest rates to come down before they're considering selling. And so the idea behind the portable mortgage is if you're somebody who has a low interest rate, and you want to move, but you've been hesitant to because you don't want to give up that interest rate, now you can just carry it with you over to a new house. So it actually incentivizes you to say, hey, we like this house, but we've been wanting a different house for a long time. Let's just move and we'll take our interest rate with us. And so this addresses one of the problems of the current housing crisis, which is let's get people comfortable enough to sell their house, pull the equity out of it, keep the interest rate, and move to a new house. Now more houses become available for more people. But keep in mind, it doesn't fix the entirety of the housing crisis problem, but this is really awesome.
I think they're going to have to do this on federally backed stuff like FHA, VA. They already kind of do it with VA where you can kind of easily tag along or you can assume it. I think there was a problem with assuming a VA loan because then the person that it was their VA loan was responsible if the next person defaulted. I think they changed that. Comment down below if you know more about it than I do. I can't remember at this moment. But I don't think this is going to do anything more than to prop up the market, kick the can down the road. We never let prices correct. We just propped them up. And I know politicians are doing this because midterms are coming up and election seasons are coming up. And they know that if people lose the equity in their house from a price correction, then there's going to be a lot of mad voters and a lot of people will get voted out of office. There's 2 things that run this world, the S&P 500 and the housing market, okay? And if you're in your 60s and you're trying to retire and you're a voter, those 2 things move because one, your retirement portfolio and the other, your house, those go down in value, politicians lose jobs. Remember that. So when you're creating your portfolio, you know. Boom, right here. Okay, that's great for people that own a home. What about the rest of us? They're keeping houses unaffordable by doing this, okay? They should have to change over, because what we're seeing is people stay in a house only, say 7, 8, 10 years. We're getting to that 5, 6 mark. People would have started turning these over and they'll just have to eat the interest. Instead, we're helping them out. The government is propping this market up. Anytime the government meddles in anything financial, they screw it up. Right here, moving from one house to another doesn't increase the number of houses available. It's good to see some people doing the math.
I just logged in to our health insurance provider and I can't even in July of 2025 our health insurance premium went from $59 a month to $798 a month. And since it is now open enrollment, I just logged in to our health insurance to see what, if we stay on the same plan, what our premium is going to be for 2026. $1,208.91 a month. Our family deductible has gone from $0 to $11,900. Our primary care copays have doubled. Our urgent care copay went from $10 to $60. Our generic prescription copay has doubled. And this is coming off of the fact that my husband just had to have a prescription filled that is supposed to be covered by insurance. And you want to know what the copay was on that after insurance? $1,200 for a prescription, on top of the $798 health insurance premium that we just paid. And this doesn't have to do, this is separate from everyone else's rising costs in health insurance, but we are self-employed. We are real estate agents. And this is just in addition to the next time somebody wants to devalue or question how much their real estate agent is getting paid and wants them to take a reduction in their commission, just remember that your real estate agent is going through the same things as you, paying this out of pocket if they even have health insurance, withholding their own taxes if they can even afford to do so.
That one's brutal to watch. As a real estate agent, I feel his pain, and it is brutal thinking about health insurance, hospitals. Real quick, you're bankrupt. I've ranted about health insurance a lot on this channel. And it's one thing that I can't, for the life of me, figure out why politicians can't fix it. And I would much rather pay. If taxpayers have to pay for things, I would much rather pay for people to be seen by a doctor than some crazy war on the other side of the world, or propping up some unstable government on the other side of the world that most people can't even point to on a map. I will die on that hill because I've been over there, I've done these things, and I've seen the government waste so much money, but we still have homeless, hungry, and sick children and people, and the healthcare industry is a mess. Off my soapbox. I want to know your comments down below. Thoughts, good, bad, ugly. We can have some discourse, because that's how we figure these things out. Because we don't put pressure on politicians to fix stuff, then it will keep just doing this cycle of war and hunger and poverty, and then things not getting fixed. Like, I just watched our politicians here in my city spend millions of dollars on a stretch of street that is like 100 yards long versus fixing all the problems in the rest of the city because they want to walk down the street and drink a margarita and talk with their rich buddies. Watching the city council pass that was brutal. If you want to fix stormwater, but you can't let the rest of the city flood. okay? Because you want fancy bricks to drive on that you'll have to fix in 5 years. I mean, they just got rid of the road cones.
I want to talk about minimum wage here in California and the cost of living. I'm a property manager here in Santa Barbara, California, and we're not going to be talking specifically about Santa Barbara because I know that it's a lot more expensive than other places in California. We're going to talk about your everyday, lower cost of living cities. Now, minimum wage is $16.50 here in California. Let's say the average person doesn't even make minimum wage. Let's say they make somewhere between $18 and $20 an hour. Let's use $19 as the example for this situation. If you're making around $19 an hour, that means your gross income is a little bit more than $3,000 a month, okay? Let's say you're a single person here in California and you just want to live comfortably, not over your means, not extraordinary, extravagant, none of that stuff. You just want to live peaceful, comfortable. An average one bedroom here in California costs anywhere between $2,100 and $2,500. We'll use that as an example for an average. You're telling me if someone's gross income on not even that great of a salary is $3,000 gross. So let's be realistic. If they have health insurance, that's going to be taken out, probably a couple hundred. Then they have taxes, another couple hundred each check. Let's say they're bringing home around $2,000 a month, aside from other expenses that probably can't even be factored in this moment. How are they supposed to afford a one-bedroom apartment? Let's say it's a single mother or a single father, or they just want to provide a better life for their children, and they're still having to share a bedroom with their child, plus feed them and plus take care of them. I don't have children, but I really get enraged when I think about this because the cost of living per what we're making in California, it's just not right.
Yeah, I don't know how California fixes any of this. One, investors don't want to touch those properties with a 10-foot pole because they put a rent cap on all of them to fix the problem. But what winds up happening is the commercial world that wants to buy, fix up, create more housing, they don't want to touch it because there's too much bureaucracy involved. There's too many hands in the pot. It's too hard to get permits. So to fix this situation by creating more housing, the politicians have burnt the hands of the investors that would build the houses to make things cheaper. So they increase taxes to fix the problem, which just winds up hurting the same people they're trying to help. The price point on some of these fourplexes, sixplexes, 15-unit, 20-unit apartment complex, 100-unit apartment complex, the return to own those properties is the same as it was before the 19. So if rent rates don't go up, cash flow doesn't go up, the price point of the property can't go up. So there's no appreciation, and the investors don't want to buy, fix, flip, and hold these properties. So rent rates, capping those rent rates work in the short term, but they will destroy the market in the long term. We're seeing that in California right now. We're going to see that in New York. And as a real estate person, I have to give my real estate opinion that the only way to fix this is you have to build more housing, you have to relax the rules, and you have to cut the taxes on the lower income because they have to have the money to survive. They're not surviving right now. This is not fair for these people. And the only answer to this from the politicians is tax more. You have to give people the incentive to put capital in the market and create housing and jobs. Do you know another way? Because it's not tax the rich man. We all know that doesn't work. The taxes, insurance, and cost of maintenance and everything on these apartment complexes and these rental properties keep going up. Meanwhile, rents are staying the same. At some point, it's not feasible for anybody to own them. And let me say this. Rich men put politicians into office, okay? They always exchange one thing for political campaign funds. That's how they stay in office. That's how they lobby. So don't ever think that a politician is going to work for somebody at the lower end of the income spectrum. They're getting something out of it. So never trust these politicians. That is my point. I'm not saying go from one side to the other. I'm just saying always be skeptical of what they're trying to give you when they're always trying to change these policies. The rich men are their handlers. Politicians are selling people straw man by saying, look, rich man bad, give us more money to fix this. No, that guy's creating the jobs and paying most of the taxes. And the politicians are squeezing you too. They're squeezing both of them. And the rich man has the option to get up and move. And that's what a lot of them are doing. They're going to states that don't have income tax, lower property taxes, and it's easier to start businesses. That's what's happening.
$1,500 a month for health insurance, but every single person in my policy has a $6,000 copay, which means I've been going to the doctor all year. I thought my copays went towards our premiums and the amount that we had to pay to get coverage. However, it doesn't. My wife just had a serious event. She had to go to the hospital. She had to have life-saving surgery. And we got a bill in the mail from the hospital for over $3,000 for this procedure. And I'm thinking back, I'm paying $1,500 a month for this health insurance. I've personally paid thousands of dollars over the course of this year in copays for myself and stuff that I had to go to the doctors for. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to spend $1,500 a month for the next 12 months. What is that? 18 grand. And then I have to spend $6,000 a person just to get them to cover things. So you're looking at, we have 5 people in our family. If all of us have to go to the hospital, that's $30,000 in copays that we have to pay on top of the $18,000 in monthly charges to actually get coverage. As a father of 3, I'm strongly considering canceling our health insurance policy, which feels very irresponsible and wrong, but I can't remember the last time I spent over $48,000 in a year in health costs between copays and health insurance and all of this stuff. If I just pay cash, I'm never going to pay anywhere near that amount. For instance, the surgery my wife just had, if we paid cash on that surgery and we didn't have insurance, it would have ran us about $1,200. But because
this is what's going to keep America middle class poor. The rising cost of health insurance, the rising cost of homeowners insurance, the rising cost of taxes, and the rising cost of everyday products. Wages didn't go up, and we are being eroded away. There's no excuse for health insurance to be like this, okay? It is an insane system. And then it's to the point, too, on the other side, where the doctors are struggling because they can't collect the money. They can't accept certain types of insurance because what the insurance companies are doing to them. I don't see a good outcome to this if they don't fix this. I don't trust the government enough to have government health insurance because I don't trust the government and nobody should. Their excuse is to ask for more money and never solve a problem. Raise taxes. So you either pay for it in taxes or you pay for your insurance policy. I want to know your thoughts on how to fix this because it hurts my heart watching people struggle with the rising cost of health insurance. I feel it. I see it with my mom. I see it with all my friends.
I'm a respiratory therapist, okay? I take travel contracts for work right now, and I do that because it's twice the money, okay? The economy requires me to leave my home for work because if I take a regular staff position, I'll make anywhere from $31 to $35 an hour. Prime example, for 3 months out of this year, I did home care. I made $32 an hour. I worked 40 hours a week, at least 40 hours a week, okay? My biweekly take home after taxes, retirement, and health insurance for me and my 3-year-old daughter, my biweekly take home was right around $1,600. Okay, multiply that by 2, gets you through a month, $3,200 a month take home, right? Sounds like good money, doesn't it? Should be good money, $32 an hour, right? $3,200 a month to live on. Anybody should be able to live on that, right? Right, that's what I thought too. Okay, so my rent was $1,400 a month. Now, mind you, that's decent. That is below the national average, okay? Rent, $1,400 a month. Gas and electric, they'd wax and wane. Electric's higher in the summer, gas is higher in the winter, but between the two of them, they averaged around $300 for the two of them. Okay, so we're at $1,700 a month. Full-time, Monday through Friday childcare for my 3-year-old, $1,100 a month. I'm now at $2,800 of my $32. I have $400 left to put gas in my car, groceries on the table, toiletries, shampoo, conditioner, toilet paper, laundry detergent, any copays if we decide to go to the doctor's office. Fuck a car payment. You might as well drive a paid off car. Mind you, I don't. I have a car payment. Okay? Car insurance. All of that is supposed to be covered by $400 a month. If I sat down with somebody, I'm from Michigan, if I sat down with somebody from Michigan Works and they put together my expenses and they put together what I make, I would qualify for SNAP benefits. And I would need them in order to keep me and my daughter afloat with me working full time, making $32 an hour.
This hurts me so bad to watch. And then to think, childcare is so expensive, but we have to have children in this world. The government hits you on that one, and you still are going to work 5 months out of the year just to pay taxes. Taxes that go to things that most of us can't even point at, or it doesn't even help our family. And then you're going to pay sales tax, property tax just to even start a little business to sell lemonade. We're taxed to death, not to mention they have inflated us to death. The secret wealth killer. And here we are, a single mom trying to make it, and she can't in a normal society. This is wild, y'all. We've got to hold some people accountable in a professional way. We got to say we're tired of all these crazy expenditures. But I will say this. They've painted us into an economy that runs on these entitlement and these subsidies and all this money printing, pump it into our EBT, SNAP. I mean, I know there's some people that need EBT and SNAP. I'm just saying the idea of all these things being pumped into the system, but that if they stopped it, our GDP and our economy would go down 15, 20%. I mean, look what happened during the government shutdown. Look what happened during the SNAP benefits. All these companies were struggling, even the local convenience store.
What is not clicking, guys? Oh, get a job. Oh, the few bad ones are ruining it for all the good. I don't care how many people are abusing the system. You cannot shut the whole system down and just say, oh, well, sorry. Two Joe Schmoes from bumfuck nowhere don't want to get a job. So since we decided they qualify and they've been abusing the system, like, revamp the qualification system then. Revamp the system if you have to. We're the ones approving these people who are abusing the system. Change the qualification criteria. Change the criteria for being able to stay on it. Change the reevaluation period for how much you get and how often you're reevaluated. I don't care what you have to do. You can't shut it off. You can't stop it.
If you just made them reapply every 2 years, you'd get rid of half the fraud. Because they would be like, and you would find a lot of people that were on it are probably not even alive anymore. You would find a lot of fraud just by making them come in and show up every couple of years, reapply, and then ask them, why are you still on this? You know, you would get a lot of people off of it just like that. And then work and say, hey, there's some new requirements, and show me that you really need it every 2 or 3 years. You'd solve a lot of problems with just that. It would be a great filter net.
And I'm sorry, but you seriously mean to tell me that this program, this SNAP benefit program, okay, funded by taxpayer dollars, okay, is out of money. But we have enough money to remodel the White House and to fund foreign war. We can't feed the mouths on our soil, but we can supply foreign aid through millions of dollars worth of arsenal and just straight up money. Make this make sense. Not to mention,
people
those of you that are
questions.
like, yeah, kick them off it. It's not going to affect me, da 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 da. Are you not even a little bit curious where the portion of your paycheck that was supposed to help pay for those benefits is going instead? Like, give me that money back so I can support the families in my area. I am from a densely SNAP benefit using area, okay? I come from a not very high on the bar area. Give me my money back. If you're not going to fund programs to feed the mouths around me, give me my money back and I will feed them. The other argument, too, that this isn't going to affect you, SNAP benefits is directly putting taxpayer dollars back into the economy. So if those taxpayer dollars aren't getting put back into the economy is going to fucking tank. Your milk that's $3 at the grocery store is about to be $5 at the grocery store because the millions of Americans that were using SNAP benefits to purchase groceries aren't going to be able to do that anymore. Therefore, the price of groceries is going to go through the fucking roof. And then who's going to get fucked? The middle class American. The middle class American that, just barely didn't qualify for SNAP benefits, that's already barely getting by.
She's got a lot of good points. The middle class has to start looking and working together to solve this problem. We like to fight amongst each other over stupid things. Meanwhile, we all suffer. We got to start working together and saying, okay, where do we fall on all this? And don't let the left and the right divide us on things that we have to have because they want to point a stick at somebody because they want to point a stick at a person we don't agree with on the other side of the world. Don't fall for it, America. Don't fall for it.
I never wanted to come on here and complain about money because it's embarrassing for me to do so because I have a lot of friends and family that follow me on this account. But I guess that's what I'm going to do today. My husband and I make more than we ever have. We make a combined, I want to say over $100,000 a year pre-tax. And still, at the end of every month, we're overdrawn. We're in the red $1,600 every single month. I have canceled every subscription possible that I can cancel. I've canceled our streaming services. I've canceled any gym memberships. Literally anything that I can cancel, I have. My husband is trying to pick up freelance work in his industry. I'm trying to pick up a second job. And it's just, nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever enough. We don't eat out. We budget every single penny that we have. We shop at Walmart or Aldi for groceries. We only buy what we need for that week. We don't buy any extra snacks for ourselves. We always buy extra for our son, obviously, but never for us. And with all of that budgeting and everything, we are still in the hole. Still in the hole. Today is Tuesday. I'm overdrawn $300 in my account and I don't get paid until Friday. And on Friday, when I do get paid, I'm going to have to call my bank and beg for them to reverse the overdraft charges and just beg that they will. And they probably won't. I don't know what else to do. We are doing everything right and still coming up short. And I don't understand how people are supposed to live like this. I don't understand how this is sustainable much longer. It feels like I'm on a really shitty treadmill and I'm running in place. And I am running at a speed that is too fast for me. Too fast for us. And I don't know when I'm going to fall off. And I'm just trying so hard to stay on. But I keep feeling like I'm slipping. I'm happy to know that I'm not alone in this struggle, but it's just very hard.
Isn't it insane that wanting a normal life now is considered a luxury? We're not asking for yachts. We're not asking for mansions. We're literally just asking for a life that doesn't feel like drowning. A place to live that doesn't take our entire paycheck. A car that doesn't require a loan longer than the relationship that got us into it. And groceries that don't feel like a punishment for trying to eat. We're not chasing some billionaire fantasy. We just want a fair shot. We want time with our families. We want energy after work instead of collapsing on the couch, praying that the weekend feels longer than 6 minutes. We were told, work hard, be loyal, show up. We did. But while we're doing everything right, they kept moving the finish line. The rent went up, the food went up, the bills went up, but the paychecks haven't done shit. And the people at the top still have the nerve to tell us it's not that bad. Brother, it is bad. If being able to afford a dentist appointment means going into debt, if missing one day of work means falling behind, if a cart of basic groceries gives you anxiety, that's not a personal problem. That's a broken system. So if we sound angry, it's because we are. We're tired of being lectured by the people who've never struggled, while we're trying to survive in a system designed to keep us desperate. We don't want luxury. We just want our lives back. And the fact that even that feels like asking too damn much tells you everything.
This is a perfect example of what I was saying about all of a sudden the pot is hot and you're cooked. Things went up, we weren't paying attention, and then all of a sudden housing doubled. And then rent went up. And then there was no alternatives. Meanwhile, you can't go get another job that is going to pay you more. You're stuck in your wages that you normally had, and all of a sudden everything else around you went up. Even daycare has gone up. And they'll say, well, our expenses have gone up. Everybody's expenses has gone up. Even to the point where they're like in real estate, there is a floor to where if you're trying to find a property under a certain amount, getting a real estate agent to work with you is very hard because their expenses have gone up. And the amount of time, effort, and things they would have to do to close that deal, it becomes not feasible for them to do it. So then people go without the ability to have counsel. Lawyers, they've gone up. So people go without counsel. Taxes have gone up. Your CPA has gone up. Everything as far as counsel in this world to make good decisions has gone up. Your financial advisor has gone up. So at some point, you're unable to get the advice you need. And it's because everything has gone up. I want to know your thoughts, comments down below. What do you think about this? We're in this part of America where I was hoping real estate would correct. And I'm somebody that's in real estate. I was hoping it would correct. I was hoping the stock market would correct. And they've done everything in their powers to prop it up and make it keep going up by just pumping all this liquidity into the market. And they're going to start printing money again. Interest rates are going to come down. Quantitative easing is going to start. And they're going to push this market up. And they're going to say, you know what? Market's all-time highs. Real estate's all-time highs. We did a great job. Meanwhile, the bottom 1/3 is getting crushed. Crushed. That's all I got, everybody. See you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.